Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another edition of Muslims Uncensored with me, Robert Carter, and the man of wisdom, Roshan Saleh. Well, let's kick off with our first topic, which is the London mayoral race. So, Roshan, I think a lot of people are going to be looking to you for your opinion on this. I don't know why, but a lot of people seem to hold you in high esteem in the community. They want to know who they should be voting for. So, obviously, I'll list a couple of candidates. Sadiq Khan, of course, the sitting mayor. He is the Labour Party's candidate. There's also the main competitor of his, Susan Hall of the Conservative Party, and then there are others, including I think there's a guy called Bin Man.
Yeah, he's my
standing
man.
up.
Vote for Bin Man.
Bin Man standing up. Reform UK have a candidate, and also there's Britain First even have a candidate.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll be ringing endorsing them, but just tell me what you think. So I think a lot of people that I've spoken to have messaged me and basically said, look, who should we back? Because there's no obvious candidate here. If you're, say, for example, a rebellious Muslim who wants to throw their vote in for Palestine, what are we supposed to do?
I mean, the election is tomorrow, so I think whatever we say today, even me, I mean, usually I have the power to swing votes, but
we did in Rochdale, didn't we?
But that was on the basis of like a 3-4 week campaign. So we come to this a little bit late. Perhaps we should have done more on especially the London mayor election, because 1 in 9 Londoners is a Muslim. We have a population in London here of well over 1 million Muslims. So the Muslim vote really does count in London, and probably does have the power to swing the vote, especially against Sadiq Khan or for Sadiq Khan. We've been a bit late to the whole process. Maybe I should apologize for that. I guess because it was Ramadan and we were very busy doing other things in Ramadan. Then after Ramadan, we were all a bit tired. So we haven't really been on this London mayoral campaign like perhaps we should have been. So a day before the election, this is my verdict. Five Pillars, we don't actually have a unified opinion on this. I think you might have a different opinion. I'm not exactly sure what your opinion is. Dilly's opinion might be different. My personal opinion is that a vote for Sadiq Khan is a vote to distort Islam. And it's literally, if you want to vote for a gay rights campaigner, for a pro-trans campaigner who will literally distort Islam in front of tens of millions of people over the next 4 years to Muslims and non-Muslims, then go ahead, vote for Sadiq Khan. If you want Islam to be distorted in front of that worldwide audience, as the mayor of London, one of the most important cities of the world, for the next 4 years, then go ahead, vote for a gay rights activist. You know, simple as that. A vote for Sadiq Khan is a vote for gay rights. That's how I see it.
Well, two things I'll say to that. One, I think that not only that, but he's also not done anything for the Palestinian cause. You know, he's not the kind of guy that goes to pro-Palestine rallies. He works and communicates with pro-Israel groups. So, you know, he's practically anti-Palestine in that sense.
He's a Zionist. He's a soft Zionist.
Soft Zionist.
Yeah.
So whatever way you look at it, even some Muslims who may not care about the trans stuff, they might look to him if he was, say...
Well, why wouldn't Muslims care about LGBTQ?
They should. I know they should.
It's haram in our religion, so
I know.
why shouldn't they?
But even if you want to be pragmatic in the sense and say, okay, he's Muslim or something, maybe on Palestine he's good, he's not good on any issue. There's literally no good in him for anything that should concern Muslims at all. Having said that, you apologise to the audience for not taking an interest in the mayoral campaign till now, or speaking about it at least, covering it. I mean, what is there to cover apart from the fact that we hate Sadiq Khan? What else is there? I mean, the fact is who stood up in the race that's an obvious bid for Muslims to go for? Who stood up on a pro-Palestine picket? There aren't any. You know, it's either right-wing knuckle draggers like Britain First, or there's trans right activists like Sadiq Khan, or there's the other three main parties like the Tories or the Lib Dems, and I mean they're all the same. They're all genocide enablers. Do you know what I mean? So what we're supposed to do?
I've seen some messages go around WhatsApp. I think probably brothers and sisters, you got these same messages. They're always nameless, and it was why I am voting for Sadiq Khan, why I am not voting for Sadiq Khan. I'm not sure whether you got those as well.
I got some.
Yeah, and I have an idea of who's behind the why I'm voting for Sadiq Khan, a particular individual who shall remain nameless, but it's pretty obvious to anyone who looks at Twitter. Anyway, look, I think the fundamental, from my perspective, the fundamental reason why Muslims are in this country, from my perspective, is dawah. Otherwise, if we're not giving dawah, there's no reason to stay here because it's a kafir country. Unless we're seeking political asylum, which isn't the case for most of us. So if we're going to stay in this country, we need to spread Islam. And that's the fundamental reason why I cannot vote for Sadiq Khan, is because he is a distorter of what Islam is, giving the impression to Muslims and non-Muslims that Islam is something which it isn't. So that is, in a nutshell, why I can never vote for this guy. Yes, he's better than the Conservatives on certain issues. Yeah, he is a soft Zionist. He believes in Israel's right to exist and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, he has done some good. He probably won't. He hasn't banned the demos, for example. I'm not sure if that's in his power. I think it is London Mayor. He can ban the demos, right? Whereas
maybe, I mean, I know the Home Secretary and the London Mayor are obviously both involved in that. I'm not sure who has the final say.
So he's let the demos go ahead, and his Conservative counterparts probably would ban the demos. So there are some. I mean, there are some aspects of even his promotion of diversity does include Muslims, in that. So he does give us some space to breathe as Muslim activists in this country. However, I think these are small considerations compared to the fact that people associate him as the Muslim mayor. Everyone says he's the Muslim mayor. Even non-Muslims think about he is the Muslim mayor of London. So they associate him with Islam, and he's distorting Islam. And for that reason alone, I cannot stomach him. Also, I think that we need to break clear of the party system as well. He's a Labour Party candidate, and for the last 7 months, we've been saying that Labour Party is unacceptable because ultimately it's the top of the party which kind of sets the agenda, and Sadiq Khan is a signed up member of that party. So that means the logical conclusion of that is that we cannot back any Labour Party candidate, even if they're people that are pro-Palestine. That's what I would say. Even in, like Zara Sultana, for example, she is pro-Palestine. Afzal Khan is pro-Palestine. Nashar is pro-Palestine in many ways. But they are still representing the Labour Party, and the agenda of that party is set at the top. So I believe that we need to boycott in totality the Labour Party, and Sadiq Khan is a Labour Party candidate. That does mean that in the short term, there might be a few setbacks. It might mean the Tories get in certain areas and the Tories are worse. But I think we have to think long term, and we have to think strategically long term. And that means we have to send out a clear message to the Labour Party that as long as you are anti-Palestine and pro-Zionist, you will never get our votes ever again, even if individual members of your party have good positions.
It is an interesting question that needs answering. Not just who do we vote for in the London mayor race, but do we vote for pro-Palestine candidates in the three main parties, including Labour? I've seen many times Absana Begum speak at pro-Palestine rallies against the wishes of her own party.
Yeah.
And she
should resign.
I have to, well, yeah.
Stand as an independent.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe you're right.
If she started as an independent and I was living in a constituency, I'd vote for her, but not as a Labour Party candidate.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good point as well. So I think you're probably right on that. You probably convinced me even that just because you're pro-Palestine, if you're associated to Labour in any way, shape or form, then you are basically
Labour is the problem.
You're a hypocrite. You're a disgrace. Yeah, absolutely. I've got no time for the Labour Party, and anyone who claims to be pro-Palestine shouldn't either. I think that's a very, very good point. But just to end, I mean, people might want to hear why I hate Sadiq Khan. I just think Sadiq Khan is a bit of a twat. I think that he's a bit, I think that,
Should we say we hate him?
Yeah, I personally
Would you use that language, hate him?
As a politician, why would I never vote for him? Why do I despise him? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know the guy personally. This is all political talk.
You despise his politics. Yeah.
Politically, I despise his politics. I mean, the ULEZ thing, it's a war on poor people.
ULEZ?
Yeah,
that's a right-wing issue. You just like...
well, it's true.
Because you're a motorist.
Maybe, yeah. The
or you got an old banger as a car or something like that. You're paying more for...
No, but I appreciate the fact that he's just waging a war on poor people, in my opinion. And I think that basically my bottom line is that on no issue whatsoever can I find something I like about the guy?
Yeah.
I mean, the knife crime issue in London as well, that's a big problem which he's never dealt with. This capital is a crazy, crazy place, and I think that he is pretty incompetent as well. And I don't think he's done very, very good. If he was a fantastic politician, all this other stuff aside, I would understand why some Muslims might want to back
Why
him.
do people keep backing them? Why do people vote for him?
Who else is there? I mean, London's a leftard capital of the UK, isn't it? So I mean,
I think there was if
it's
there was a
just
good candidate standing against
Labour
him.
stronghold.
I mean, Susan Hall is a Tory. No one knows who she is. You know, the Tories should have put up somebody like a name, shouldn't they? I think if he's been lucky in his opponents, that he's beaten. He's like literally beaten nobody. Who was the last candidate he beat? I mean, nobody's, right?
Yeah, nobody's.
Sean something.
And I think that for some reason the Conservatives keep running these really like Islamophobic campaigns or candidates against him, as if that's going to win somehow in London.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that's their strategy.
There's a huge Muslim vote in London.
Yeah,
Huge.
it's really strange. I don't know why they feel that that's the winning strategy.
I think London
I guess
is basically...
they're used to peddling hateful, divisive politics.
Yeah.
Because it benefits them across the country, probably.
Yeah,
but it
not in
doesn't work
London.
in London. No, it doesn't work.
London
in
is basically a lefty city, isn't it? And it's like full of liberal lefties and Labour leaning.
Champagne socialist bubble.
Yeah, it's full of just tossers, basically. Isn't it?
That's London for you. But yeah, there you go. The final thing I'll say on this is that I guess a lot of Muslims might decide, okay, well, let's rebel vote. We either scrap our ballot papers in rebellion, or we'll vote for a loser candidate like the Greens.
A lot of people
like
are saying, we should have mentioned that actually, the Green candidate, when you look at their manifesto, they're slightly better than Labour, even on Palestine. So if you feel like you have to vote, I won't be voting for anybody. I mean, will you be voting at all? Or
no, I mean, what I was going to say is, don't just assume that Green are a home for Muslims,
right?
Because actually, the Greens, in principle, are basically they're anti-Islam on many issues as well.
But if you feel compelled to vote and you have to vote for somebody, I would say vote for Greens over anybody else.
I wouldn't even endorse Greens. I mean, I get why people would chuck their vote in as a
right.
But if you just look at the candidate, she's one of these woke, lefty, pink-haired, woke types.
Don't vote, brothers and sisters. Don't vote.
Basically,
why bother voting? You could be tidying your sock drawer in that time. Like that's what I'll be doing. I'll be tidying my sock drawer instead of going out, wasting my time. The snooker's on. The world snooker's on. I love snooker. Watch that. It's Ronnie O'Sullivan tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
I think just find a way to protest without backing any of these particular groups. Like don't go out and just say, let's vote for Green, as if they're something good. Because they're not. They're just as bad as anyone else on other issues.
So what's our advice to the viewers? Concluding?
I don't know, just like there's no good advice. Just
don't vote for Sadiq Khan. Seriously.
Find a way to rebel. Yes,
he's going to win anyway, because you know very well loads of Muslims are going to vote for him because they'll say, "Oh, look at the alternative." And I mean, I want to make one fundamental point. I'm not in this country to live a comfortable life, And sometimes I think the Tories coming in. I'm for a change of regime. That's why I actually think it's good for Muslims if Labour get in one time, then the Tories get in the next time. There's a change of regime because it keeps everyone on their toes. It means that we're not too comfortable in our because I don't think our presence here is about having a comfortable life. It's about doing dawah.
Yeah.
That's literally why we're here. And we don't have to live a comfortable life to do dawah. And sometimes the dawah can be more effective when we're a little less comfortable.
Yeah.
So if all you're interested in is having a comfortable life, then maybe a good old Sadiq Khan is the right choice. But then, you'll be voting for a trans gay activist as well, and, all sending out these mixed messages about what Islam is.
Yeah.
So if you have to vote for that pink-haired weirdo green lady. But the best thing is not to vote. Above all, don't give your vote to Sadiq Khan. As usual, I forgot. There is one more thing I want to say before we conclude on this topic. And that is, I think the people, not everybody, but I think the people that are pushing Sadiq Khan are people who have access to him. I'm talking about Muslims, people in the Muslim community, and they have access to him. And they feel as though that access counts for something. It's usually private access, not public access. And they seem to be pushing him quite heavily. But I think that's an elite mentality. Just because he's willing to meet a few Muslim power brokers in private doesn't mean the rest of the community should vote for him. Others, And I know that Sheikh Haytham, for example, I've heard, I didn't actually watch it, but I heard that he kind of proposed that we work with Sadiq Khan on the basis of lesser of two evils. That is the main argument. That's the most convincing argument. But as I say, it's not an argument I go along with. I think it's short-term thinking. And I think I can disagree with Sheikh Haytham on this issue simply because it's not a religious matter, it's a political matter. On religious matters, I will always defer to him. So no insult or negative connotation meant by that. But on political matter, I think I can disagree with Sheikh Haytham.
Yes, and I'm sure he would even welcome the different view. You know, it's up to our
Sheikh Haytham loves me.
Yeah, and we love Sheikh Haytham as well. Let's talk about the next big topic. So I'd love to hear your views on Humza Yousaf, the he will be the former Scottish First Minister after he announced his resignation, and there's now a leadership contest underway to take over the Scottish National Party. So Scottish politics is in a manner of crisis. But obviously, Humza Yousaf's legacy now is what we're talking about. A lot of people are slamming him, but it was a very short-lived term, and there are questions about what he achieved. But from a Muslim perspective, I want to hear now. I've seen some of your tweets, and you seem to have an issue with him on most things, including the spelling of his name.
That's ridiculous. Why the heck does he spell his name Humza Yousaf? What? I mean, did his dad do that in his birth? I mean, he can change it. If it was his dad that did that, because his dad, you know, sometimes our parents can misspell our names, but you can surely change that, or
You want it to be a bit
or
different.
just leave it on your passport, but
bit
change
trendy.
it for your public. Because I have an issue with it. People are going to accuse me of being pedantic, but it's an Arabic name. It's the name of the prophet's uncle and the name of a prophet. You know, so I have an issue with that being pronounced incorrectly. I think we should pronounce it correctly. You know, anyone who knows Arabic knows that, you know, spelling your name Humza Yousaf is bloody weird. Do you know what I mean? It's weirdo. Anyway,
Out of all the issues he's got, that is probably
he really gets up my nose.
that is probably one that he hasn't even heard yet. Spelling of his name.
Oh, that's the least.
protest.
That's the least I have to say.
That's
Look,
the least. What? So yeah, go on. What?
the
tell me what
guy's
you
a
think.
distorter of Islam, just like Sadiq Khan. And I remember, do you remember the Muhammad hijab video?
It's now disputed if he's actually a Muslim or not. Like there's a question mark over that.
I'm willing to say this. Is it too much to say? But I'm willing to say I actually don't consider Sadiq Khan or Humza Yousaf Muslims. I don't, because they both of them are knowledgeable people about Islam, and they reject a clear-cut Islamic principle. You can't do that if you're a Muslim. If you're ignorant, you can do it, but they're not ignorant, and they know about Islam. I mean, Humza Yousaf was or Humza Yousaf was
Whatever his name is.
He was an Islamic activist when he was at university. He was head of the Islamic Society.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he knows about Islam, and Sadiq Khan does as well. So I mean, that could be a controversial position. You can cuss me in the comments for saying that, but that's the position I personally take. It's not an official five pillars position, but I don't consider them Muslims. And
I remember at the time, because obviously everyone was having a go at hijab about his excommunication video, and basically a lot of people were saying no, it's up to a scholarly consensus to make that declaration. You shouldn't talk about it publicly, even if it's true, and so on and so forth. So we'll wait and see if a backlash
he's a public
ensues.
figure, and they associate him with Islam. Look, the guy again, he's a distorter of Islam. And that's my fundamental issue with him. Others might have other issues about his politics, but that's my issue with him. He is known as a Muslim. He is a public-facing Muslim who has the biggest platform possible in the United Kingdom as a Muslim politician. He keeps on going on about the fact that he's a practicing Muslim. So he has systematically distorted what Islam is, not only on the LGBT issue, gay rights and whatever, but he was even retweeting, kind of promoting whiskey.
Really?
I saw that. Yeah, of course. He was like, they did some deal. The Scottish government did some deal with a whiskey firm. And he was retweeting that. So he's promoting alcohol as well. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's going to say, "Oh, you're being pedantic and naive." No, it's because I'm a Muslim. This hurts me as a Muslim human being and someone who believes and practices Islam. And if it doesn't hurt you, then you got a problem. You got a problem.
No,
you know, as a Muslim, you got a problem.
I'm sorry, but the religion's not a joke. You can't play around with it. And he, in his ambition to weasel his way up the greasy pole to power in this non-Muslim country, he was perfectly willing to muddy the lines of red line issues in Islam and actually even abandon or contradict Islamic red line issues in order to please his liberal fan base or non-Muslim audience in order to achieve power. And what did it get him? What did it get him? Now he's despised across the board. The mainstream, the media, which he was trying to appease, slamming him for being incompetent and basically useless in office. He's had a very short term. His legacy is abysmal, even from a non-Muslim perspective.
Yeah.
He's humiliated. He's a humiliated
It's a joke
man.
and embarrassment.
He's a humiliated man, and I'm not talking about the Islamic stuff here. I'm talking about just as a
The
British
secular
politician,
policies,
secular policies. So he compromised potentially his access to the next life. Only Allah knows. So I'm not going to say
That's the risk he's taking.
Allah is the only judge. So don't get me wrong here, but potentially. I mean, with the things he's saying, even Muslims, people of a scholarly background, are really concerned about whether or not he's even a Muslim anymore, even if we can say salam to him if we see him. Do you know what I mean? There's a massive question mark over that. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's going to happen to him. But the fact that there are question marks in that sense, like alhamdulillah, people could say what they want about me, but question marks over whether or not I'm a Muslim don't exist. Alhamdulillah, I hope that remains the case, and I work to keep that the case. Humza Yousaf hasn't achieved that. And what did he get out of it? Nothing. Just a pathetic, abysmal, embarrassing political career, which no one's going to remember. He's created no legacy for himself except humiliation.
No, he has created a legacy himself, and that is that he's imperiled Scottish independence. You know, because this is what this is all about. And I think people were, even in the mainstream media, they were pushing him as the candidate. I think that was for a reason, because they knew that he was the one likely to scupper Scottish independence. Scottish independence is the major strategic threat to the United Kingdom. And the establishment in the United Kingdom will do anything to make sure it doesn't happen. And that's why they've gone after the SNP. And it hasn't helped, I mean, the SNP haven't helped themselves by being involved in scandal after scandal, but they've appointed this very weak leader who's incompetent. Wherever he's been in Scotland, I'm not talking about Islam anymore. I'm talking about secular politics. Well, Justice Minister, Health Minister, Transport Minister, etc., etc. He's failed at every ministry, but he's failed upwards because he's been close to Nicola Sturgeon. He was Nicola Sturgeon's right-hand man, and because he had that access, he failed upwards time and time again until he reached the top spot. But the wider picture here is Scottish independence. I should also say that Humza Yousaf, one good thing that he did was Gaza, and he had that personal connection with Gaza, his wife being from Gaza. He did speak up for Palestine, but that's not, brothers and sisters, why he had to step down. He had to step down. People are saying that online, but it's not. It's a coincidence. He had to step down because he made a massive political miscalculation in getting rid of his Green Party coalition partners, which is completely unnecessary. He didn't have to do that. And then he had the gall to say that I would not, compromise on a matter of principle. What principle does he have? All right, so he won't compromise on secular principles, but he'll compromise on Islamic principles. So the wider context here is that Scottish independence. I'm for Scottish independence because I believe that it makes Britain weaker. And I think making Britain weaker is a good thing. And I'll explain why. Not because I hate Britain or whatever. It's because I want to save Britain from itself. Because Britain is an imperial colonialist country that goes to war all around the world. And I believe that Britain needs to be broken up for that reason, to make Britain weaker so that it can concentrate on internally, on itself, on its own people, and not on wars abroad, and not on, screwing up the rest of the world. That is why I'm in favour of making Britain weaker, not because I hate it, because I want to save Britain from itself. And Scottish independence is imperative for that to happen. But Humza Yousaf will go down, and Nicola Sturgeon probably will go down as the people who have scuppered, in the short term anyway, Scottish independence. Alex Salmond was the guy who brought Scotland to the cusp of Scottish independence. And when he narrowly lost that vote, he resigned on principles. And I don't know why Scottish people seem to hate Alex Salmond, because he's your man.
I think that you mentioned that his alliance with the Greens broke down. That's another example to prove my earlier point, which is that Muslims shouldn't look to the Greens at all in any way, shape or form as some kind of like Muslim-friendly party, because a lot of the extreme woke positions that Humza Yousaf was pushing, which made him very unpopular even among SNP members, who a lot of whom have conservative values as well. It's a broad house, the SNP, so there are some conservative Scottish people in there as well as lefty woke people. was because he was trying to appease his Green allies. So the trans stuff and all of these other woke things, a lot of them he was being encouraged and spearheading those issues because he had to appease those Greens. And what has it gotten him? Nothing. Very unpopular. So on another angle, I just wanted to make that point. Muslims should look to the Greens with dislike, skepticism and dislike, because they're not some kind of Muslim-friendly movement.
No, look. Ultimately, the right wing in this country, they hate us. They'd probably try to deport us if they possibly could, etc. The left don't want to deport us, but they do want to change our religion and our values. So that's the choice. Which one is better? Some would argue the left, some would argue the right. Some would say the left, we have more space to breathe in terms of our activism with the left. But the danger with that is we become too much like them, like Zara Sultana has and many others, basically gay rights activists now. On the other hand, the right wing, they may hate us more, but they openly hate us. We can see them coming. And also, they kind of keep us on our toes. They make us more aware of our own identity, I think, and make us more Muslim in some ways.
It's the wolf and the fox situation that Malcolm X warned Muslims about, wolf and the fox. So be very, very careful of that, because even other things like fanatic feminism, militant veganism, these are all extremes that are un-Islamic. Islam is the middle path. Everyone has their rights and values and so on in your own position, men and women. And Islam is what we follow, and we adhere to Islamic values on that. We don't adhere to Western feminism, any of these movements.
So should we even be members of
They shouldn't be allowed into the Islamic world at all.
Should we be members of any of these parties, like Labour Party? I mean,
That's a question. That's a question for the audience. That's a question for the audience. Should we? I'm not anymore. I regret being a Labour member, definitely. Let me move on now, because let's keep the ball rolling, because George Galloway is making more moves. He's building his momentum. To be fair to him, say what you want about George Galloway, but he's rolled up his sleeves and he's moving on. He made a major announcement yesterday that he's going to contest, he and his party are going to contest in every single constituency in the upcoming general election in England, and many, many constituencies in Wales as well. And they've also opened up a Scottish branch. He's already amassed 500 candidates ready to stand in an election if it was called tomorrow, and he's trying to amass the extra couple of hundred or whatever he needs for the full country. And he's basically he's aspiring to be prime minister, it looks like. He's like this, the sky's the limit for Galloway. So it poses a major question now. Should we continue to back Galloway's party everywhere? Because obviously Muslims in Rochdale backed him because of his pro-Palestine stance. But then, of course, his party are left-wing. His views on Russia and Syria have also raised a lot of question marks around Muslims. So is this our man? Should we be getting behind it, or should we be skeptical again?
No.
What's your view on it?
Yeah, I don't think we should back Galloway, unquestioningly. I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think in Rochdale, there was a clear reason to back him, and that's because we wanted to send a message out to Labour. In other constituencies, there might be a better candidate. So Five Pillars' position isn't to unequivocally support George Galloway or his candidates in every single constituency. But there might be areas where we might send out that message, case-by-case basis. But I know that we have been doing quite a lot of coverage of George Galloway. Some people might mistake that as unequivocal support, but it isn't that. Our interest lies in the Ummah and the Muslim community. If it suits us to support Galloway in certain circumstances for the overall good of the Muslims, we will. If it doesn't, we won't. Simple as that.
It looks like, from what I saw, because he brought something like 100 or 200 candidates with him to Parliament yesterday to make the announcement. So they all lined up behind him. I'm going to play out all this footage so everyone sees it. And basically, it looks like most of his candidates are going to be of a Muslim background, a Muslim family background. That's very interesting. Many of the candidates I met were fascinating individuals. These were Palestinians, hijabi sisters, Muslims of all stripes, and they were standing to compete against senior Labour people, including John McDonnell, Angela Rayner, question marks about wherever else. So all of these key areas, which even the Muslim Vote campaign are talking about we need to push, potentially the Workers' Party are going to take on those seats. The question I have, and I posed this to Galloway on the day, was will you also be standing your candidates in areas where perhaps the Muslim vote or independent candidates who are also pro-Palestine are going to stand? Leanne Mohammed, for example, Jeremy Corbyn, another example. Galloway's answer was they're going to look at it case by case as well. They will concede areas if a better candidate is there, but only in exceptional circumstances.
Okay.
So he's not going to run against Corbyn. He probably won't run against Liane Mohammed, but I don't know. There might be some areas where if there is a disagreement locally about whether they want to back Galloway's party or not, you could see Galloway's party stand against. There could be a couple of pro-Palestine candidates splitting the vote.
Okay.
So that's
I don't think that should happen. But
that shouldn't happen. We'll wait and see. Maybe it won't.
Interesting to see how that plays out.
Galloway did say he's open to people coming and approaching him, even if they don't want to join his ranks. They could come to him and say, "I'm standing in this area," and then he'll say, "Okay, we won't touch that area."
Right.
So let's see. That seems pragmatic and sensible to me.
Yeah.
But the question is, what do we do? Because it's undeniable. Galloway is a divisive figure. He's, even Muslims are divided on whether they like him. They either really like him or they really don't like him. But the fact is, he's getting the ball rolling. I mean, what's Jeremy Corbyn? We don't even know if Jeremy Corbyn is going to stand against the Labour Party.
This is the part of the show where we slag off Jeremy Corbyn.
I'm sorry, but Jeremy Corbyn, just what are you doing, man? What are you doing, man? I mean, seriously, we at this stage, on the verge of a general election, we don't even. He's still leaving the door open to standing for Labour in Islington North or whatever his constituency is. I mean, come on, man, grow a pair. This party's disrespected you so much they won't even tolerate you in their ranks, and you're still leaving the door open to it. I mean, what a weak and wobbly performance.
You're going to upset people in the comments now, Robert.
I'm sorry, but
flag waving Jeremy Corbyn fans.
The more and more that goes on, I find new issues to just dislike Jeremy Corbyn. Come on, grow a pair, toughen up. I know he's doing things behind the scenes because he's throwing his weight behind independent pro-Palestine candidates. He's advising them, I think. He is creating a wider movement. So I'm not saying he's doing nothing.
Is he?
I think he is, yeah, because obviously he is utilising and doing a lot of pro-Palestine stuff on the sidelines and this and that. And I don't think he's doing absolutely nothing. But come on, man. I mean, just ditch the Labour Party, go on the offensive, slam this.
Well, the Labour Party won't even have him back. So
why are you still hanging on to him? I have no idea.
Stockholm syndrome.
Something like that. But it's just so cringy and annoying that this guy who we had so many high hopes for, this radical socialist leader, is going to implement change.
And he won't give 5 pillars an interview.
Yeah, damn you!
Which is the real reason that we're upset with him.
Yeah, from his cabbage patch or wherever he is.
I'll interview him as an allotment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gnome like next to him.
Yeah, we'll ask you about your courgettes if you want, but there's a few other issues we'd like to ask you about as well. Okay, I think we've focused on the UK enough for now. Let's head over to the US where there's massive...
Oh, George Galloway's religion. We didn't mention that.
Oh, gosh. All right, back to Galloway. Yeah, back to Galloway. So he's a Roman Catholic.
Of the British National
Well, what am I?
I asked you,
am I the Muslim candidate? Richard asked me off camera if I was a practicing Muslim.
Yes, based on...
I'm a practicing Roman Catholic. That's how good his press cuttings are.
Always has been, apparently. Did you know that? I didn't.
No. I knew he wasn't a Muslim, but obviously...
You knew he wasn't a Muslim?
Yes.
Why?
Everyone
assumed he was a Muslim.
Because I've known him for many years, so that was my personal deduction, that he wasn't a Muslim. But I couldn't prove it. I never asked him the question directly. But look, I'm glad it's been cleared up because there's been way too much speculation. So many people have approached me and said, no, he's a secret Muslim, or he is a Muslim, definitely. And in my heart of hearts, I always knew he wasn't a Muslim. But I couldn't prove it. I didn't say it. But it's an ambiguous area which just needs to be cleared up because the impression that so many people have is that he's a Muslim, and they may even lend him their vote for that reason. But there's no reason not to lend him your vote because he's a Christian. It's about whether he has good policies or not. So I'm very glad it's been cleared up now. What are your thoughts?
It should have been cleared up a long time ago.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no issue with it whatsoever. It's a non-issue, in fact, on the wider scheme.
It was only an issue because of speculation.
It was an issue because of speculation. And like you said, there were so many people that were assuming he was a Muslim. That's not right. And I think that Galloway should have cleared this up a long time ago. I think he knew about the speculation. He knew about the rumors.
No, he should have cleared it up.
He should have cleared it up because, again, look, Islam's not a joke. It's not a plaything, and it shouldn't be used as a tool to gain votes, really,
No.
at all. I think you either are or you're not a Muslim, and you should
Yeah.
clarify that. You shouldn't mislead Muslims, because it's just sad. It's just sad, I think, because a lot of people, like you say, would support you and go the extra mile because they think you're a Muslim. You know?
Jeremy
It's as simple as
Corbyn
that.
proves. I mean, Jeremy
You're using and abusing the kindness and hospitality
Jeremy
of the
Corbyn is an
community.
atheist. He's an atheist. He doesn't believe in God. You
Yeah.
know, so but Muslims still voted for him. You know,
Yeah.
and I voted for him based on his policies, not on his personal beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and he, you know, yeah, I just think it's good that it's cleared up.
And just to say, just to tell all those Jeremy Corbyn fans in the Muslim community, this guy's an atheist. Why are you putting so much trust in an atheist? Someone who rejects. That is the worst sin. That is hellfire. That's hellfire. All these right-wing nutters that hate Muslims but believe in God, they've still got a shot of Jannah. Jeremy Corbyn hasn't even got a shot.
Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy, if you come on the show, we'll probably talk about you a lot less. You know, we'll give you. It's just so like Dan Corbyn. But no, you're welcome to come on, and we'll treat you fairly.
What do you reckon, brothers and sisters? Are you bored by our obsession with Jeremy Corbyn, or do you want more of this? I think you want more of this, don't you?
I must admit, I talk about it because I genuinely believe there's an issue here, and that I have to express myself. So we are a free speech platform, as long as you talk kindly about Roshan, because Roshan's feelings get
all right. Let's move on.
So let's head over to the US now. Basically, there's a massive student protest taking place at universities all across the states, and it's been met by very authoritarian reaction by the authorities, including the police, who have gone in, batons waving, trying to beat down these protesters and end these sit-in campus camps that have been set up. There's tents and all sorts. There's been some very violent footage shared over the past 12 hours as things have continued to escalate. And I will see if I can play out a clip of that now, as what seems to have happened at a university campus in Los Angeles is that pro-Israel activists have descended on one of these camps and have started attacking pro-Palestine students in shocking scenes. So that was just a glimpse. There's loads of footage of this. It went on for a couple of hours before police even showed up. So surprise, surprise, they've been there beating up pro-Palestine students for days on end. Then the second, on this particular occasion, that some pro-Israel activists showed up, armed up, ready for a fight, the police were nowhere to be seen. And apparently, according to Sky News, it took about 2 hours before the police actually responded and came and quelled the fighting. So very, very suspicious what's going on and how that was allowed to happen.
That sounds like something out of Egypt or these Arab regimes where the thugs go in and the police stay back.
It's very peculiar. Now, I know you have something you want to say about UK students, but before we come here and talk about that aspect, I think it's worth noting that, you know, when this happened, it was understandable. You know, these are university students who you assume are being taught that they, you know, should talk about world issues and become politically active and aware, and, you know, try to make the world a better place. So when these sit-ins began, makes sense, right? Now, you would assume as well that with tensions so high, the university authorities would look to calm tensions. You know, you'd expect them to take the high ground and speak to both sides and try and mediate an end to the standoff. But no, they actually went to the police, called them in, urged them to come in, riot police in full baton gear, and then beat down people. It's escalated.
Yeah.
The protest has grown as a result of that. Now there are politicians weighing in, and it's all become politicized. They're now attacking students for being woke and anti-Semitic and this and that. Now the pro-Israel students are getting involved, and there's now physical fights between the two rival groups. So this, I think, is an example of just how disgraceful the US is in terms of its leadership, how authoritarian it is. And I mean, it rings back to scenes that we would have seen during, I don't know, the civil rights movement, you know, them beating down black people, calling for an end to discrimination. Well, these students are calling for an end to genocide, and look at the treatment they're receiving.
I think the US, I've never been to the US, alhamdulillah. And I've never been to the Great Satan. But yes, it seems to me that it's 100% Zionist country, isn't it? Like, you know, if we think this country that we live in is heavily Zionist influenced, then you have to multiply that by about 100 when it comes to the United States. It's literally all the tricks to the Zionist lobby, the Israel lobby that we see here about weaponizing anti-Semitism has been going on in America for a lot longer than it has in the UK, and to a much greater extent. So I'm not totally surprised. And I was watching CNN yesterday. I thought I'd put on I don't normally watch American news, but I watched CNN specifically for their coverage of this. And it was all about the anti-Semitic protesters and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, the only other point I want to make about this is where are you at, British uni students? I mean, you're not, apart from Leeds, British uni students have been doing diddly squat in favour of Palestine and against the genocide. It's been really disappointing. What are they doing? I mean, there's literally, I remember when I was young, and even before that, kind of the student activism was a massive thing. Now they just seem to be like, they don't want to rock the boat,
I must admit, it's a fair point. I think Leeds University students did do a very good job. They did something very similar, and it was dealt with better, a little bit better by the university authority as well. But even then, they didn't. It's not like they recorded a win. I mean, the whole rabbi chaplain dispute and the anti-Semitism and him joining the IDF and coming back, that wasn't resolved. As far as I know, he's still in work, So ultimately,
but they didn't stand in the riot police, at least.
Yeah, exactly. But
what
that was the best. That was the best we've seen.
What are Islamic societies doing in universities? I mean, when I was, at university, the Islamic Society is really active. And what are they doing now? Are they talking about, how to do wudu, or what are they talking about? So.
Yeah, well, let's see how things progress in the US, because this is getting really out of hand now. People are getting seriously hurt, and obviously, the US is under similar pressure to the Israeli regime in terms of world opinion, and this is making it worse. Let's come back to the UK now. There's a real issue with journalists here in the UK being penalised and oppressed, basically, for doing their job. It seems as if journalists here can talk about whatever they want, pretty much, unless it's against the narrative coming out of Tel Aviv. If they upset Tel Aviv in one way, shape or form, they seem to get into a lot of trouble. The latest example I'll bring is Natasha Devon, an LBC radio host, who was forced to issue a grovelling apology after getting into a conversation with a caller talking about the October the 7th rape allegations. Let's play a clip out now and see how the exchange went.
Is still in Gaza.
Well, Lucy, this is my problem, is that when you talk about the rapes and the mutilations, there are conflicting stories about that. So there are some academics who are saying that there is absolutely no evidence that any sexual assaults took place. And of course, people were kidnapped, people were killed, and it was a horrific thing that happened. How do you square that, though, with the 30,000 people who have died, most of whom are women and children, in Gaza? At what point does it become disproportionate? I don't think anybody's trying to forget the 7th of October because it was horrific, but the question is, at what point does the response become disproportionate?
All right, well, can I just go back a stage with what you just said? Are you saying that you don't believe that there were women that were raped on the 7th of October, even though that it has been proven?
Well, I'm saying that if you look at the New York Times published a piece in which they claimed that had happened, and then they had to row back on it and say that they actually didn't have any evidence for it. And so I'm saying I don't know what to think about that.
So you think that the witnesses, some of the girls that have actually have gone.
So it goes along that line. Basically, she raises some questions. She doesn't know the answers to all of them, and the caller gets really upset, really emotional. And then after some online backlash by pro-Israel activists, she's now issued a grovelling apology for...
What was her apology?
It was very long-winded, but ultimately she said she did research into it and she was wrong and, very, very sorry. But ultimately,
she sounded to me like she'd actually done her research before, because her question was absolutely reasonable. And she has looked into this subject. And yeah, there is no proof, apart from Israeli testimony. The only proof of rapes on that day, October the 7th, come from Israelis saying they were raped. There's no DNA evidence, there's no forensic evidence. So it comes down to, do you believe the accounts of Israeli witnesses? I don't.
Now, that's obviously an example to bring us into this discussion because, from what I understand, Natasha hasn't been penalised at all. She's just been forced to apologise. We'll wait and see where that goes.
That's been penalised.
Exactly. But she's still in work.
But she hasn't been, what you're trying to say is she hasn't been disappeared.
She hasn't been disappeared.
Unlike
Sangeeta Miska.
Miska, I think. I don't know what it is. Yeah, Miska,
Sangeeta of LBC. She did an interview about Israel to an Israeli.
By taking that action against Iran, was escalate what is already an incredibly fragile situation.
Sangeeta, that's an outrageous framing of the reality.
It's not an outrageous framing. I've just been speaking to somebody who is a diplomat to Iran from the UK government. That's not an outrageous framing of it. What Israel did was strike what is considered in diplomatic circles the sovereign territory of Iran, whether we like it or not.
And she's now disappeared. And of course, Sky News, Bella Donati, who has also done a disappearing act, has stopped tweeting and everything.
No one's seen her since January.
No one's seen hide nor hair of her since she gave an interview again with an Israeli, where she basically spoke about the ethnic cleansing being experienced by Gaza. So again, these journalists doing the outrageous thing of expressing a view that isn't pro-Israel, and then all of a sudden their careers are being demolished.
Well, that's what it seems like. It's just that they've disappeared off the face of the earth. I mean, has Sky News locked them in a cupboard? Has LBC, buried them underneath a floorboard or something like that? I'm worried about their personal safety and their health. Are they alive?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, the way
are they breathing?
I mean, the fact is, Israel doesn't regard journalists at all with high regard. I mean, just look at how many have been getting killed in Gaza. Aid workers as well. UN. They don't like the UN unless they literally fall in line and kiss the ring of Tel Aviv. So the fact is that UK journalism appears to be under attack, and any journalist who dares voice an opinion that isn't approved, rubber stamped by Tel Aviv, or does a disappearing act. So I'm genuinely very, very worried.
It is crazy in the sense that also millions of people have been tweeting LBC and Sky News. Where is Sangeeta Miska? Where is what? And they completely ignore it. And the mainstream media has hardly done any stories on this. It's just happening online.
Yeah.
The industry media, like Press Gazette and others, absolute disgrace. They haven't even mentioned it. So there's some kind of conspiracy of silence going on here at the moment. But I think we need to get to the stage where we need to actually start tweeting every LBC radio presenter, like James O'Brien, ask him the question. Every Sky News reporter. It's obvious what's happened to me. All right, they have been censored for daring to ask legitimate questions of the Israeli Zionist genocidal entity.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, I think very few people would disagree with you on that. I mean, they don't even tweet anymore. So you can just imagine the conversation that's been had with their editors or whatever.
I have noticed
you're under investigation. Your career's on the line. We'll see how it goes. In the meantime, keep your mouth shut. You're not on air. Just stay underground, and we'll deal with you eventually. That's the kind of conversation they probably.
I have noticed Sangeeta Miska. She must have some friends in the media because I've seen some journalists bringing up the issue. So I'm assuming she's leaked some information to some friends who have publicised it. Beldenati doesn't seem to have any friends. Because no one's speaking up on her behalf.
Well, we are.
Apart from we're her best friends, and she doesn't even know us, And
well, who knows?
Come on, blood brothers. Come on, our show. Beldenati.
You're more than welcome. We'll protect your freedom of speech here, especially on this issue, because Sky News doesn't appear to.
But why are Muslims still working for LBC or Sky? I mean, LBC is. I'm not sure how many Muslims are working for LBC because they're notoriously, even though their home is London, and 1 in 9 Londoners is a Muslim, as we said before, they've been notorious for ignoring the views of Muslim Londoners. Even ethnic minorities. At one stage, they didn't have any ethnic minority working for them, apart from Majid Nawaz. As a presenter, I'm talking about, and obviously he did the jobs on Muslims all the time.
I remember.
I remember doing a 5-minute graphic about that. They've not got much better, to be honest. And the brown faces that they tend to get on tend to be kind of saying white people things. Apart from Sangeeta, I think she's a Hindu, right? A Hindu or a Sikh, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
But her politics, left-wing politics, and she did say some good things in favor of Palestine as well. and she's paid the price. She's paid the price.
Exactly. Yeah.
But why are Muslims, like Sky News and even the BBC, why are Muslims still working for these organisations?
Yeah,
it's an absolute disgrace. They're literally peddling Israeli press releases and propaganda, and you got Muslims and even boasting about, I work for the BBC and I work for Sky. Who cares?
Yeah.
You're a sellout. That's what you are. You're an absolute sellout.
Yeah, I'm not impressed at all. Yeah, just don't tell me you work for the Guardian or the BBC. You think I'm impressed by that? It makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that, look, with all due respect to you guys,
Robert's next destination after 5 Pillars is the BBC, by the way. Remind him of that when he sells out.
Because I'll never get a job there. I hate them. But no, I'm principled. I'm very principled. That's why I'm with 5 Pillars, principled organisation. But yeah, let me just send a message to you, brothers and sisters working for the mainstream. Nothing personal, but at the end of the day, if you put your faith into these organisations, don't cry the blues when the day comes that they penalise you, silence you, sack you, boot you out and show you no disregard whatsoever, no matter how many sweat and tears you put into your job there. Because at the end of the day, they don't have your best interests at heart. They're not particularly interested in defending you if push comes to shove. What they're interested in is defending the establishment, being a spokesperson for the British state, a British state mouthpiece, and ultimately it looks like defending the narratives coming out of Tel Aviv and awful regimes like that are killing innocent Muslims and children every single day. I mean, it's totally disgraceful. I mean, we talk about cancel culture and all that type of stuff, and the right wing always attacks the woke and the left for pushing cancel culture and silencing everyone. But the first to do it was Zionists. They literally will cancel anyone and everyone who dares say a word that they don't approve of. Cancel culture is a Zionist agenda, I think. I think they spawned it, they've been pushing it, and now others have adopted it. And then all of a sudden, it's become a right-wing talking point to attack the left on cancel culture. No, it was the right-wing Zionists that started cancel culture, and unfortunately it's reached ridiculous levels where even our own journalists in our own country are not allowed to talk to British citizens about anything related to Israel, because they have to please a foreign regime somewhere.
If you're a practicing Muslim, you believe in Islam, I mean, come to 5 Pillars. If you're a good journalist, like a proper journalist, and you're a practicing Muslim, and you're interested in this career, you should be having conversations with us.
Yeah, man.
And put your talents and your effort into building up this organization.
Yeah, man.
Our constitution is the Quran and Sunnah. That's why I would say, why don't join the Labour Party? Because my constitution isn't the Labour Party or the Tory, it's Quran and Sunnah. Yeah. And so is yours, and so is Dilly's, And we need people to build up this institution to make it a Islamic media powerhouse. We're intent on world domination.
We'll still be standing even when Humza Yousaf and Sadiq Khan and all them lot get.
They'll come and go. Just look at all the anti-Muslim organisations in this country, like Quilliam Foundation, and all these figures like Fiaz Mughal, Sarah Khan, all these people.
Yeah,
they come and go. We are going to stay here forever, inshallah.
Just look at Mehdi.
Because ultimately our values are unchanging, and so are our principles.
Look how Mehdi Hassan was treated. He's
launched that Zetio now, isn't he?
Yeah, luckily enough, he's in a position where he can go on his own. And
do his left-wing thing.
But all the years that he was feeding into their ideology and compromising on Islamic values and all this type of stuff, and then look how they treated him in the end. He said one thing they didn't like about Palestine or whatever, or a few things, and then all of a sudden, his contracts come.
Still don't give any money to Zetio.
We're not renewing his contract or whatever it was, but...
I noticed he's looking for donations. Don't give any money to Zetio, brothers and sisters. Give it to us.
Yeah,
because Zetio, it's a Greek word, right? I mean, you can tell that's like literally his intention.
Could have at least
is to promote Western values.
Yeah, man.
Okay, our intention is to promote Islam. Do not give your money to them. Give it to us.
Yeah, exactly. Could have at least used an Arabic word or something.
Yeah, like ilm or
feigned
jihad.
Sharia. Okay, let's end on a story I'll leave to you because this is your little thing. What was it? It was
the graphic I put up.
Pedo graphic.
The pedos, yeah, the guys with Muslim names who
what's
convicted for being pedophiles.
Yeah.
So I put up a graphic. This wasn't you, it wasn't Dilly, it was me. And I put up a graphic, basically about, I don't know, it was about 20 Muslim guys in Kirklees, up north, and they'd been convicted of grooming. And they were Muslims, apart from one of them, and they all had Muslim names. So I put up a graphic, and I asked the question, and I put it on Twitter and all our other platforms. And I asked the question, what do you think of these guys? Now, my question was to Muslims, but unfortunately, especially on Twitter, we have lots of non-Muslim trolls. So a lot of the non-Muslims were making Islamophobic comments. And because of that, I considered taking it down, and I had a conversation with you and Dilly about it. But when I looked at it, my intention was basically to tell the public what Muslims think of these people, not to associate them with Muslims, because I don't consider them, what they did was obviously anti-Islam, and we hate them more than non-Muslims do. If Sharia law existed in this country, there would be only one end for these people. And we were getting loads of comments by Muslims to that effect. And because of that, I've left it up. But unfortunately, a lot of those comments were getting drowned out with the Islamophobic abuse from the right wing. But that was my intention, brothers and sisters. I wasn't trying to do a Daily Mail hit job, cussing Islam and Muslims. You know me by now. You know me and you trust me as well. That was my intention. And the only reason why I've left that up is because there were so many Muslim comments to that effect. Basically cussing them, distancing themselves from our perfect religion, telling them what would happen in an Islamic state if they dared, set foot in there, etc., etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing I will say is that, I like most normal people in the world, Muslim included, hate all of these types of people, no matter what their religion or skin color. Like, these people make me sick, and I hate all of them, and I wish them the worst. All of them. It doesn't matter if they're English, Asian, or whatever, Muslim, Hindu, whatever. If they do these disgusting crimes, I wish them the worst, and I wish that capital punishment was worse for them. There's no doubt about that. There's no issue. I don't have to clarify. It's just an automatic position that I have because I'm a decent human being.
We would deal with them if we had the power. We would deal with them.
Exactly. In an Islamic society, they would be dealt with. But what's disgusting about the right wing, I think, at the moment is they've politicized grooming to score cheap political points, where they'll only express outrage at certain types of groomers. I mean, are you sick in the head? You make me... You're disgusting. How despicable is that? Politicized grooming? You disgusting animals. Disgusting
and they associate
animals.
It with Islam.
And they ignore any white groomers. They never tweet about white groomers. I mean, what are you saying? What, is that less of an issue for you because of the skin color? I mean, you are disgusting, mate. You are disgusting if that's what you're all about. You're pushing brown groomers only because it proves some weird point you want to make. What a bunch of nasty idiots. I'll rein in my language, but I just think that's the point, seeing as we're on this subject, so we never get a chance to make it. But like you say, if this was an Islamic society, we know exactly what would happen to them. So, it's up to
what
the
they're
UK
doing
how they
is anti-Islam, because obviously the right wing tried to associate it with Islam. And unfortunately, our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But nothing could be further from the truth. And
absolutely.
I tell you what, if you complain about Sharia law, but if you want us to deal with them with a bit of Sharia law, then, accord us that right. You'll see what happens.
The fact is, Muslim parents in this country don't even want kids at any age in school to learn about relationship or RSE, relationship and gender education and all that type of stuff. They don't want to even introduce it to kids at all because they're so hot on this issue. So this idea that it's an Islamic thing, this grooming thing, is so stupid. So to any non-Muslims watching, this is a nasty, evil, right-wing conspiracy and Islamophobic trope. It has nothing to do with Islam. Muslim parents want to protect kids, they want to protect women from anything. I mean, we don't even allow non-mahram people to touch our women. So don't even think that Islam condones any of this disgusting, barbaric, savage attitude. This is a sick thing, and Islam knows how to deal with it. That's why I'm very comfortable on this issue.
And also in jails, we know that pedos are treated really badly in jails. And we also know, unfortunately, because of economic reasons and etc., there are a lot of Muslims in these jails. So these guys are not going to have, my prediction is they're not going to have an easy time inside.
Well, there you go. Let's end the show on that. Is there any comments that you've seen that you want to slam?
Oh,
You've
from
got
last
this thing.
week.
You want to attack our audience again?
No, I think most of the comments were positive last week. So do you remember any of the comments? I mean, I think we uploaded the show too late, so we didn't get as many comments as normal because we had a bit of I won't go into the boring details, but we had a few technical issues last week, which meant we uploaded the show really late. So I think fewer people saw last week's episode than normal. And we normally get at least like 200 comments, don't we? We probably didn't have 100 comments last time.
Yes, exactly.
Any comments to stand out for you?
Well, the positive ones praising me and my performance, I think, are always worth highlighting. So thank you very much for that. But no, we always appreciate
a few old is gold comments. I noticed, which is like, it's like dig at my. I'm not like I'm 80 or something like that. Yeah,
the golden years.
It's like I'm going around with the walking stick or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I think the only other thing to mention is obviously next week we are having a gap week from Muslims Uncensored.
Why? That is the reason.
There's a member of the team who is refusing to work.
Jamal,
our beloved cameraman behind the camera, you won't see, but don't worry, we're going to hold him to account for that, especially if World War III breaks out. And
he's gonna
from his holiday in Dubai or wherever it is.
No. Jamal's going on a work trip, so we're not going to do. Yeah, without Jamal, you don't get this beautiful studio. You don't get this
wonderful reaction from Roshan.
Yeah, you don't get all the
what will we
knobs,
do?
The bells and whistles that you see. Did I say knobs and whistles? Bells and whistles.
Yeah, you won't get those lovely comments from Roshan slamming anyone who dares criticize him. But don't worry, we will be back the following week.
Let's hope there's no news over the next week.
There will be news whenever we're away. If
there's something major, I think what we'll do is we'll just go like on StreamYard. We'll do a live stream, and then it won't look as nice, and we'll have our noses right up to the camera and stuff like that. And
well, the good thing is whenever Muslim Uncensored has a little break, that means I get to go out into the wilderness a bit more and
we'll actually do some stories.
Yeah, we'll actually do some work up at the sit in the chair and talking about stuff. So anyway, inshallah, brothers and sisters, thank you very much for tuning in once again. Please like, share and subscribe. It helps the channel immensely. And do leave those comments in the comment section below. We always read them and appreciate them, even if they hurt Roshan's feelings. So until not next week, but the week after, we'll catch you again on Muslims Uncensored, inshallah. But jazakallah khair for now. God bless. Ma salama.